think you gonna get away with it. Not up in here! Not up in here!
That's right, everyone. This is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk entertainment. You're going to throw a softball at me. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to reach back and crank it out of the park because not up in here. Oh, we got a lot going on in Giant land today. We got Pro Football Focus giving the Giants the off-season grades and their off-season, I shouldn't say that, but their draft grades as well. We got limited news coming out of the first day of the Giant OTAs. Evidently, the media pretty much was not allowed in the OTAs, which I find kind of interesting. But all the information that is coming out was released by the team via its in-house media. So I found that kind of interesting. But we're going to talk about some of the highlights for the first day of OTAs and some other things going on. But let's talk about Pro Football Focus, or I like to call it Pro Football Jocus. Pro Football Focus is as big of a joke as amateurs breaking down college film and then equating it to how a player drafted in the 6th round is going to excel in the pros. It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't on both ends. Pro Football Focus gave the Giants a B- for their offseason. They gave their offseason a B-. Their free agent average grade is average. The free agent grade is average. And their draft grade is a B-. Well, duh. What do you think the Giants were going to do with $0? Did you think they were going to go out and break the bank? Did you think they were going to pull a 2021 and find money out of their tukish and then all of a sudden turn around and sign these high-level players? Pro Football Focus is a joke. They never look at the totality of the situation. I've said this a million times. When they tell you this player has a 76.48 grade or they have a 52.4 grade, I've said it a million times. They don't take everything into consideration because they can't. You are not on the team. You are not in the meeting rooms. You're not in the film rooms for the teams. You don't know what each player's assignment was. You don't know which player missed the assignment. You don't know what player covered for a player who missed the assignment. You don't know if there was a line shift. You don't know if there was an audible. You don't know anything. You don't know if a player was out of position. You don't know if there's just so many nuances and so many things that you do not know. How do you grade something on things you do not know? You do not know the plays. You do not know the formations. You don't know the adjustments. And so then you're going to sit there and say, the Giants got an average grade. Okay, the Giants may have not been able to go out there, but they still got Feliciano. They still got someone like Seals Jones. They still picked up players that are going to hopefully serviceably fit the system. So look at the totality of what the Giants had. The Giants had no cap space, had to get rid of guys just to get under the cap space, had to get rid of James Bradbury just to get under the cap space so they could sign the rookie class. Well, you should at least given the Giants a free agency grade above average because you need to take into the account the totality of the situation coming off a 4-13 season. The Giants are in a rebuild. Their draft grade was a B-. I'm not 100% upset with that. I think B- is probably fair because of the fact that you have to look at the first round as a solid A+. You really do. You have to look at it as a solid A+ because the way it broke out for the Giants get both Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, that's a home run. It's out of here. It's long gone. That's a home run. But then it did get a little muddled into day 2. I still think, listen, Wan'Dale Robinson looks like he's a great kid. Looks like he's the anti-Kadarius Toney. Maybe they needed him to be the yin versus the yang for Kadarius Toney. But most people are going to tell you, and most scouts are going to tell you that it was a reach. That he's not going to be a true wide receiver. That he could be a Tavon Austin, which we all know Tavon Austin was a big bust in the league. But Tavon had speed. This kid doesn't have straight line speed, and if you take a look at the film in Kentucky, does not have full out game speed either. But is he a value for the Giants offense? I don't know. Nobody knows yet because we don't know what we're running yet. We haven't gotten to that. We haven't gotten to that point yet. We don't even know what the Giants offense is even going to look like. But he seems like he would probably be more of a gimmick that they could have got maybe in the third or fourth round. And if you want to go by the draft boards or the draft rankings or the consensus draft boards, you have to admit and you have to see it that a lot of the Giants picks, the value for those picks or where they were chosen was probably too high. It doesn't mean they're not going to excel in the league. It does not mean that at all. But if you take a guy at 78 and almost every draft board has him ranked 64, there's a question there. There's a question there. But like I said, Shane is going to need a couple of years to turn this around. This is not going to be this thing where they're just going to turn it around automatically and they're going to win 11 games. Well, not according to Twitter. I swear to God, I think I saw somewhere on Twitter that said the Giants were going to go 18-0. I was like, I thought they only had 17 games now. Oh, it makes my head hurt, but it's okay. But Pro Football Focus is a joke. Yeah, and that's all there is. I mean, and like I said, they always sit there and say, "Well, we're unbiased." I always think they're biased towards the Giants. I think a lot of the national media's bias against the Giants, and I think Pro Football Focus has a giant bias. So, trying to find some takeaways from the OTAs, you had to scan everything, man. You had to scan the waiver wire. You had to scan YouTube. You had to scan Twitter. You had to scan everything. But I think it's quickly interesting to see what's going on here. I mean, like I said, I'm just curious that they didn't have the media there today. I don't think there's anything conspiracy theory about it, especially with the aliens, the Senate hearings with the aliens today. I don't think there's any conspiracy theories. But some of the interesting things that have come out, Shane Lemieux was actually at practice, was participating in practice. He had a season-ending knee injury, of course. But according to the Giant in-house media report, again, this is all from the Giant in-house media report, he was at practice and he was participating, which is great because, you got Lemieux, Garcia, Douglas, all kind of fighting for a spot and potentially fighting for a starting position, which I think is awesome, which I think would be really great that if he could come back and really show something there. You also seeing, of course, that the venerable darling of the Giants right now, which is Daniel Bellinger, is evidently Bellinger did not drop a pass today. That and $4 gets you $385. And he had 0 drops last season as well. But he was again impressive, and he's working. Evidently, he's working himself into the rotation, or I don't know how he's working himself into the rotation because we haven't even gotten into anything yet. But it looks great when you're catching with just a helmet and shirt and jersey and shorts on. But evidently, he's been impressive again today, which I think is fun. Which I think, like I said, to me, he is I really liked the pick. I think a lot of players like the pick. I think he's a guy that can. One of the things I like about Bellinger is the fact that he can block. He can block and he can catch. He's not going to be I think he's going to be better than like a Ballard, and I think he's got more blocking skills than like a Kevin Boss. And I think he's going to kind of fit into. If you want to go back into the day, he could also be a tight end or even fall into potentially into like an H-back role. But I do think that he was a good pickup. I think if we want to look at some of the draft choices, he was a quality draft choice. And I think that's interesting. Giants evidently focused on working on the deep red zone. They says Giants focus on deep red zone work, and I guess that's not a shock to anything. But they spent a good portion of the practice working on deep red zone drills inside the 10. Last year, of course, they scored just 8 of 48 in the red zone drives with 10 yards or fewer to go. for a percentage of 16.67. So if you want to look at a focus for improvement for the Giants, I think that should be high on anyone's list, because of the fact if you can't punch the ball in from that distance, there's a problem. So I think that is something that is going to be. I mean, I really do think that, like I said, that is a must for this team. You don't score points, you're not getting anything. You're not going anywhere. Also, some other news. You had John Feliciano. He was seeing time on Monday at center. He's I don't know why that's shocking people. He's been basically brought in to potentially play center. Robert Foster, the wide receiver out of Miami, evidently had a couple good catches on the 11 undeliverable drill, including a leaping touchdown grab from Davis Webb. Antonio Williams, people are saying, is looking good as well. He's showing an incredible first burst and a first step. Evidently, he made a great one-handed catch from Davis Webb. So, but I think one of the players that also everyone keeps talking about is Austin Allen, the undrafted rookie tight end. The dude is evidently listed at 6'9", and he's 4 inches taller than any tight end of the roster. So it's probably funny to watch because you probably see just a helmet above everyone else. I'll be curious. Like I said, these are OTAs, so you got to take all this with a grain of salt. So I'm curious to see exactly what's going on. Dable evidently was all over the practice field. They basically said he was patrolling the practice field, spending time with all three sides of the ball. At one point, towards the end of practice, the team participated in what the coaching staff called fourth quarter conditioning. Dable locked on the defensive linemen who would get in their stance, rush forward, and then have them sprint to the opposite directions. Games are won and lost with conditioning, especially late in the game with a pass rush. After exhausting drills, though, Dable was the first person out of the field handing out water bottles to his players. I don't care about that. I don't care about the fact that he was handing out water bottles. I don't care about the fact that the players like the coach. It's good if you like your coach because you don't want to play hard for him. But they evidently, in the beginning, liked Joe Judge. And we saw how that panned out. And I've said this before, you can't say anything about Brian Dable. You can't say anything bad. You can't say anything good because of the fact that we haven't done anything yet. He hasn't done anything. I want to see him coach his first game before I make an assessment. Everyone got all hyped up about Joe Judge and his practices. I remember that from day one. His practices were awesome. It was like sitting there in the military and they were going to be conditioned. That didn't work out. Don't care. There's coaches that had some of the most lax practices in the world, and their teams were world beaters. You had people like Les Steckel, who lasted one season as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, son of an ex-Marine who basically ran a military camp and got run out of the league. The next year, they had to bring Bud Grant back. It doesn't matter. Let's see what happens first. Let's see what happens during game times. Giants had evidently numerous people fielding punts on Monday. They had Wan'Dale Robinson. Other punt returns concluded Darius Slayton, Platzengermer, Dory Jackson. You better not have a Dory. You have a Dory Jackson and Darnay Holmes returning punts? No. You have potentially your CB1 and your CB2 returning punts. I don't even think that's a good look at OTAs. But you also had Austin Proehl, Ricky James, Corbin as well. So you know what I mean. Like I said, you don't get a lot. You don't get a lot of good information out of OTAs. It's just to get everyone it acquainted. It's just everyone get in line with the playbook. That's all it is. You know, it's a glorified practice. And you just hope that when we start getting closer into training camp, that when we start getting serious, that's when you're actually going to see things that are going to be significant in regards to the Giants putting in not only their offensive game plan, but their defensive game plan. And then we're going to see what this team is going to be and how they are going to move forward into 2022. And that's when we need to get excited. But I think that's what we need to look at. We're going to have a stream coming up soon. I don't know what day, but I'll let everyone know as soon as we can. You're going to have the new 3-12-1 video come out on Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Haven't made a decision on that, but it'll either be out Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue bringing you this and New York Giants Sports Talk and Entertainment. And as always, if you like, if you subscribe, if you ring the bell, you think it means that'd be awesome.